Well, good afternoon, Simone. Well, it's nearly good evening, isn't it?
I know.
For joining me for our afternoon tea, although it's in the evening.
Yes. I mean, it's afternoon somewhere, right?
Oh, exactly. Yes, somewhere in the world, it's got to be afternoon. Although in the UK, I suppose it is coming into evening, late afternoon, early
Exactly.
evening.
Exactly.
But thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, my first question to you is, what was your childhood like?
Well, actually, this is a really interesting question because my childhood was very different to most people's. Already by the age of 2, I moved to a different country. And then it kind of kept going. So I was moving back and forth between Denmark and Germany. And then later on, I lived in the States as well. So where most people grow up in one area, I grew up with 3 different languages and in many different countries. And actually, that's also where my wonderful American accent comes from. I grew up near Munich, near the American Army base. And then every now and again on weekends, we would go to the American Army base and have brunch. So I would obviously be playing with the other kids, running around saying, "Hey, y'all," and learn American that way. So yeah, so I've actually moved, I think, 21 times now, and 6 of them were cross country borders. So yeah, my childhood was a little bit different. I spoke 3 languages at the age of 5, I think, and have never really known life differently than, oh, maybe I'll see my grandparents in the holiday because they live in a different country, or some of my friends, maybe I'll go visit someday because they live in a different country. Yeah. So all of this virtual Zoom life feels very at home for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you obviously went to school. Where was that? Did you have different schools that you went to, or?
Yeah, I was, compared to how often I moved, I was rather fortunate that I only went to 4 different schools. However, they were in 3 different languages.
Oh,
So already there, it was all a bit over the place. So I started off going to Danish school for 5 years. Then I went to an English school for 2 years. Then we moved to Germany. And I went to a German school in Germany for 4 or 5 years. And then I chose to move back to Denmark and then went back into an English school. And the English schools were international schools. So that was a very international climate. I mean, people were from all over the world. And I remember some of them, like, it was like this joke, like, oh my God, you only speak 3 languages? That's so sad. Because it was so international. So I really felt at home in this international environment in the international schools because these were kids just like me. Because when I went to Danish school or German school, I would often be bullied and was kind of like standing out like the sore thumb because I wasn't really Danish, but I wasn't German either. And I was always just the new kid and the weird kid because they spoke different languages and didn't really fit in. So once I finally came to international school, it kind of felt like home because everyone else was just like me.
mm-hmm. Okay. And what was your favorite subject at school?
Oh, yes. As some of you might know, I'm a geek at heart. So especially in high school, my favorite subjects were chemistry and business management. I had those at higher level. So I had business management higher level, and then I had chemistry at like extreme higher level. I think we had like 8 lessons a week, which was quite intense, but also really lovely. Yeah. So I obviously carried that on, became a science teacher, and now running my own business. So I truly love those subjects for sure.
Mm-hmm. And apart from the bullying, did you have any other problems at school?
Um, I mean, I think we all do in one way or another. So it wasn't anything horrible in that sense. Obviously, it was very different growing up in school in the different communities. German culture is very different than the Danish culture, especially like the Southern German one. So it was very clear that I was a foreigner, and that I was different. So that wasn't always the easiest. And I had a teacher that dumped me just because, like, he let me fail just because I wasn't German. He told me that because
Oh,
I wasn't able to pass a German class in a German school. And fortunately, he got fired shortly after. um, so I wasn't the only one who he treated oddly, but it's always been very distinct that some people are just different, and some cultures are different, and sometimes that makes us well, and other times in Denmark we're taught to be very outspoken. One of the biggest things we teach children in school is to have an opinion and how to voice it. And Germany is very much the opposite. At least that is what I experienced. I went to a Catholic private school, so already that sets the tone, that it was very strict, and this is how we do it. And you listen to the teacher, you call the teacher sir and ma'am and by their last name and them and theirs. Yeah, so it was just different, especially to my friends growing up in Denmark. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you obviously went on to further education.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got your teaching certificate, was it? Or
well, actually, I technically almost have 2 bachelors. I started off studying psychology and German first. However, having lived in Germany and then studying it at uni as a foreign language was really boring. So I ended up dropping out and switching over to teaching instead, and then got my bachelor's in teaching instead as a German and science teacher. Yes. And then I don't even know how many certifications. I did certification I'm a certified dance instructor, professional dancer, swim instructor, Zumba instructor, some sciencey stuff, coaching, NLP, shadow work, all kinds of like psychology around children and children's education. I don't even know. I think I may have like 30 certifications of some sort that are just laying around somewhere. Yeah, so I love to study.
did you do your NLP at college then, university?
No, actually, I did that online as well, which was pretty incredible. Obviously, I love the online courses, so I figured I would give that a shot as well. In Denmark, they don't teach it at university. However, I feel like I got a really great introduction to that at uni studying psychology. So it kind of got me enticed to learn more, because when studying psychology, it was very theoretical. It wasn't very practical. And that's what I really loved about coaching and studying coaching, that it's always like so hands-on and you keep trying it again and again. In Denmark, you don't actually have your first client as a psychology student until the 10th semester, your final semester, which to me it felt odd, that I was learning so much about the human brain and emotions without actually talking to a single human. Mm-hmm. Which is what I really appreciated about studying to become a teacher.
So you got a job as a science teacher. How long were you a science teacher for?
Actually, I got my first teaching job when I was 16, which was kind of crazy. I don't even know how that happened. I was teaching yoga. Again, I have very many certifications. I can't even remember them all. So I was teaching yoga when I was 16, and then when I was 17, I moved back to Denmark, and someone had put up a note that they needed a German tutor, a German teacher. And I was like, well, I know German. And then I got hired for that somehow. So I kept teaching, and then all of a sudden I got more and more clients. Then I got translation gigs, and it kind of evolved. And then when I was 19 and graduated high school, I was studying German. Then there was like this post, we need a German teacher at this school. I called them. I was like, there's no way they're going to give me the job. And then I talked to the headmaster for an hour and told him about how I grew up in Germany. I grew up bilingual. I was now studying psychology in German and this and that. And then he's like, well, come in Monday. We'll have a conversation. We'll see how it goes and something. And I was super nervous, and I come in Monday, and then he's like, yeah, so you start tomorrow. This is a salary. Please sign here, here, and here. And by the way, we have a teacher meeting now. Can you join us? And I was so nervous. I didn't even know what was going on. And then afterwards, he told me that he just wanted to make sure that I wasn't some weirdo. He just wanted to kind of see me in flesh. And then I was basically hired right away. So at 19 years old, I was teaching 7th, 8th, and 9th grade in Denmark in German, which means my oldest student was a year and a half younger than me. So I come in with like my books, like trying to be this authority person, be like, you sit down and listen to what I have to say. So for me, it was very much a trial and error run to begin with, but I loved teaching. It was so much fun, and just seeing these kids really develop and grow and become their own in a way. It's really nice. So I got really excited, and I started teaching more and more. And then I actually got headhunted to become a examiner for the government, to examine all of the 9th graders' final exams in German. So every year it gets sent like this, stack. It was like 50 kilos of exams. It was about 500 exams in a red pen. And then it's like, here you go. Please evaluate and give us a grade. And then after that, well, every second month, I just pretty much got headhunted to some new school because they wanted me to come and teach German. And then I really enjoyed teaching German. And so I ended up teaching at 4 or 5 different schools at the same time often, so that I could choose which schools I wanted to work with and only teach German. It was really nice. Yeah. However, actually, I didn't enjoy teaching science, which is really funny because it's really one of my favorite subjects. But there was something about the safety of the children that completely terrified me, to be honest. Like, as a child, I broke my nose 3 times. Like, I don't know how, like, but I broke my nose 3 times. And that means I don't have a very good sense of smell. I actually can't smell one nostril. So for me, I constantly kept smelling gas. And the fear of like, is the gas on or is it not on? It freaked me out. And these kids, like these young teenagers, like turning the gas, like the Bunsen burner on and off, and then there's fire here and fire there and chemicals, and it was terrifying. So I really loved teaching the German. And then a lot of my students were either highly autistic or criminal or lived in the ghetto or something. So for me, it was like, I really enjoyed the personal development rather than just teaching German. German was just how I got to know them. And chemistry, I was just too scared. So I never really made the connection, and went to the headmaster and was like, so this was fun, I'm never doing it again. And then, yeah, fortunately he was very understanding. And I stuck to German after that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So did you teach any psychology or dance to the students?
Yes, I did. I started teaching dancing when I was like a little bit when I was 16, and then when I was 19, I got my own dancing classes, and I became a certified professional dancer when I was 21, and actually left the dancing school with a job offer to become one of their dance instructors. However, as much as I love dancing and performing, I love dancing at a very high level, and dancing with beginners just didn't really fulfill me in the same way. So I chose to focus on working with the students where I knew I could make a connection with them and could see them grow and develop.
Mm-hmm. And then eventually, you left teaching, did you? Mm-hmm. And set up your own online courses.
Yes.
How did that come about?
There were 2 main factors to it, to be very honest. I didn't really expect it because I love teaching, and I was sure that I was going to become a teacher at the universities, a professor teaching the new teachers how to become better German teachers, because there aren't that many amazing German teachers out here. And in Denmark, everyone hates German because of that, which is just silly. But yeah, like I mentioned, I was working with special ed. So a lot of my students were highly autistic and criminal, and it was a very different way of teaching and getting to know your students, you become very close to them, because you're essential in their growth as a human being. A lot of them were neglected at home, so we were basically their home. They would come in the morning, we would eat breakfast with them, we would make lunch and eat lunch with them, and then have them throughout the afternoon. And then some would basically go to this apartment, apartment that was watched by some other teachers, but they lived on their own and they were 13. They didn't live with their parents because their parents were maybe alcoholics. And others were just in a home where they were completely neglected and such. And a lot of these students obviously become depressed and struggle with mental health and such. And some only job was to make sure that they didn't commit suicide. So having these entire days of just watching this 12-year-old, 11-year-old, hoping they want, like, cut their wrist, jump out of the window, like just constantly running around, like shutting windows, closing the drawers, like not even letting them go to the bathroom on their own sometimes. It was horrible. And I found myself during the weekends thinking about, oh no, will he come back to school on Monday, or will he finally succeed? And then I even tried to switch to a regular public school in a very affluent area in Denmark. And my second day there, I see this young girl standing in front of the teacher's room. And I don't know what's going on with her, but I can just see that there's something wrong. I just see in her eyes there's something wrong. So I go up and ask if she's okay, if I can help her, if there's anything. She's no, I don't know, and just very confused and kind of rattled. So I go in and get her teacher, who was like her head teacher, and said, I'm not sure what's going on, but I think you need to go and talk to her. And then a couple of seconds after, they come running back in. Turns out she had swallowed a handful of pills, and had apparently tried to commit suicide multiple times and was trying again now. And unfortunately, I had been through this multiple times at my old job. So I kind of knew the drill because these teachers didn't. So we rushed into the secretary's office and dialed the different numbers. So we have 2 different numbers in Denmark, one for an emergency and one for non-emergency. However, sometimes one is quicker than the other. So I knew that we needed to dial both of them at the same time. And then while the secretaries had both phones, I asked which pill she had taken, how many, her age, her weight, and so on and so forth, so that we had the proper information. Unfortunately, she managed to get to the hospital at the right time and have it all pumped out. But just 2 days, actually the day later, she was back in school again. So clearly her parents weren't handling it the way I thought it should be handled, and that just weighed on me very heavily. However, I wasn't really the person to quit either. So I would probably have kept going unless I was in this car accident that I was in. I was really unfortunate to be in a car accident where a cab driver drives into another car, and I got a really bad concussion. And for 9 months, I basically just lay in my bed and had a constant headache and couldn't really function. And this is really where my life changed, because even though I otherwise I would have gone back to teaching, all of a sudden I couldn't. I had a constant headache, and every time I had loud noises, it would just make the headaches worse, and I couldn't concentrate and I couldn't focus, and I had brain fog. And I can't be in control of these children's lives, basically, if I can barely remember like how to say a full sentence, and if I constantly have headaches. So I knew deep within myself that I needed to step away from teaching, because it was really hard to have that responsibility for the children. And somehow it was actually a blessing in disguise, because I probably wouldn't have stepped away before it had done more harm to me than it already had. So having this injury forced me to really reevaluate, where am I in my life and what do I want to do? So I did. I really went through what actually brings me joy, what makes me excited. And working with the human and development is what got me excited, which is why I love coaching, and which is why I went back to coaching and I did my NLP training and everything. And then as I was getting back into coaching, I was so excited. But even though so many years later, I still had this constant headache and I couldn't focus and I couldn't even read a book. It would take me weeks and weeks to read a book because I just had so many headaches all the time, and I needed naps and this and that. And I somehow managed to land a really great job at the biggest coaching company here in Denmark, doing their social media and helping with with everything that I thought was really exciting, but I couldn't work full time. And all of a sudden, this lady that had given me some tips every now and again on how to recover your brain sends me this message like, I know you tried everything and I know you're about to give up, but I also know that you're doing this coaching thing. So I have this online course and just take a look at it. Maybe it's for you. I think it is, but just take a look. And I decided to go and take a look. And obviously, like some of you may know, if you're sick, there's nothing you won't try. There's absolutely nothing you won't try. You'll try every single thing, hoping it works. And I had tried every single thing. Like I had sound bowls like around me. I had energy healing. I had infrared saunas. I tried the acupuncture, acupressure, whatever it is, you name it. I tried it. Nothing worked. And then she comes and tells me I just need to eat healthy and then everything will be better. And I figured, I mean, it's not going to do any harm. And crazy thing is, super simple online course. 90 days later, I didn't have a headache anymore. And I think I've had like 5 days of headaches since, which is like 2 years ago now, which is just insane. Like for 6 years, I had a headache every single day, just by her teaching me in a video how to eat differently, which seems so like silly now that I think about it, but it completely changed my life. And I just remember thinking, if she had just written a book like everyone else does, I would still be lying here sick because I couldn't read at the time. I couldn't absorb information that way. Online course was the only thing that I could kind of focus on and where I could really learn. So I remember thinking, if she hadn't created this course, I would still be sick. And then thinking how many other people have this amazing talent and knowledge, but never really get to share it with the world because they don't know how online courses work, or they don't understand the platform, or they're too scared to be in front of the camera. And this is really where everything changed for me, because all of a sudden I was back to working, not just full-time, but way more than full-time. And life was exciting, and I was coaching, and I was in this wonderful environment of people who were really excelling in their life and were changing things. And this is when I started helping people create their online courses. And then along the way, I figured out, okay, this keeps being the same pattern that people go through. And then I created my online course academy around that. And then found out that a lot of people who are really new to this also want to create their courses, which is why I then created my newer course, How to Start Your First Online Course, which is super simple and basic and just helps you share whatever you know in video format. Because yes, we can all somehow write a book, and that's wonderful, but we all learn in different ways. This is what I was so focused on as a teacher. The autistic kids, the ADHD, all of that, they don't necessarily read. A lot of them absorb information by reading the body language of the person that's teaching. And for me, it's the same. Like I come from a dancing background. I will read from your body language when something is important and when it's not. And that way I can more easily filter through the information. So there's so many learner types, and it just, for me, it came very close to my life because everything changed after my car accident. And with this lady, this wonderful lady, I think I send her a message every month, just thanking her for this online course, because it really did change my life. And I'm really hoping to help others do the same for their clients.
Oh, brilliant. So if anybody's interested in your online courses, how will they get in touch with you?
Yes, well, you can find me on most social media platforms, Simone Sumers with 1M. And also my homepage, www.simonesumers.com. And I have a very basic online course I just created. It's launching this week, actually. Start Your Online Course Now, which is for the person that just wants to get started. Do this simple, quick online course where they can start sharing their knowledge. And because I'm launching it this week, last week we had the beanie where we collected money for charity. I'm donating 30% of all the sales to the Little Princess Trust, which is a charity in London that is very dear to my heart. They create wigs out of real hair for young boys and girls who are suffering from cancer. And I even donate my hair every now and again. So it's not just something that I say that I love their foundation. I actually donate my hair and money on a regular basis. So yeah, so all sales made at the moment will help send a check to them. Yeah.
Okay. And if there's anything that you would like looking back over your life? Would there be anything that you'd change?
Oh, never. I mean, I'm such a believer in, like the butterfly effect. Everything happens for a reason, and things happen for us, not to us. I could easily have just been really upset by the card that I got dealt. I mean, more than half of my 20s, basically, I was in bed, I was sick, I wasn't well. But I took that time to learn and grow and figure out who am I and what do I want to do with my life, and study like never before. So no, yes, I know I should go to bed earlier. A lot of my friends know this. I'm not an early riser, and I'm often tired because I work until way too late at night. So maybe I should change that going forward. But I would never change anything going back. I truly believe that everything was there to teach me a really valuable lesson, and life is happening for me.
Mm-hmm. Is there anybody who wants to ask Simone any questions?
I'll ask.
I knew it, Suraj.
Of course, I'm going to ask. So tell us, I know you love dancing. What sort of dancing did you teach?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good question. See, actually, I started dancing ballet as a 4-year-old in southern Germany in a very strict Catholic dancing school where our instructor had like this stick, and then he was like yelling like 1, 2, 3, like, and then we had to be a beat, boom, boom, boom. However, ballet is very slow and graceful, and I was a very energetic kid. So when I was 6, I actually got kicked out of ballet class because I was too energetic. So my parents moved me into like jazz, which was more funky. And when I was 12, I found hip hop, and life was just never the same again. It was wonderful. And then I started dancing salsa, and it just kind of grew and became so much more. So I taught hip hop and show dance and that kind of stuff for years. But for a period of time, I actually worked at a salsa club here in Denmark, in Copenhagen, teaching salsa and just making sure people had a really great time. That was actually one of the weirdest jobs I've ever had, but it was also very fun. It was basically just dancing around with people and teaching them, and yeah.
So from a teaching perspective in salsa, can you teach for the lead as well as the follower?
Of course.
Oh, well done.
The struggle is I can't follow, I can lead, which is yeah. So I don't care if I'm dancing with a man or a woman, I will be leading.
I think I'm the opposite.
I still don't know how to be led. I'm still trying to learn that part though.
We'll have to talk about that one.
I know. We're gonna go salsa dancing, Suraj, and then you can help me. Yeah. So I mean, I love dancing. It's so much fun, especially salsa. I mean, who can't join in and just swing your hips a little bit and have some fun and listen to the music and just be in the moment?
You know me, I had to ask the dancing question.
I know. I knew it was coming. I even have my salsa shoes right next to the computer ready. Not even kidding.
Show us as well.
Ready?
Oh, the gold! Wow.
I too love salsa. It's one of my favorite things to do.
I know. It's so
Honestly, it does.
easy, and just everyone can join, which is where it gets really nice as well. Because when I did my hip hop classes, like I lived in Los Angeles as a dancer for a short while and danced with the best in the world. And it was the most incredible thing. And then all of a sudden I'm back in Denmark dancing with everyone else. And it sounds so mean, but I was really bored. It was just not the same, and it never really became the same again. However, a salsa class, it's just the vibe is different. I mean, we're not in a competitive mode. You're just there to have fun and move and be silly and do whatever you want to, basically.
What's your favorite style? Is it Cuban or crossbody? Or is it New York you call it? What do you call it?
Cuban for sure.
Oh, yes.
I know. I gotta Cuban dance. I didn't even have a drink just because I get so excited. Who knows?
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
What is it? Simone?
Yes.
Yeah. now you're feeling better. Now your brain is fully functioning again. Would you go back to doing teaching German? Because as you say that there's some very bad teachers out there and you were one of the top ones. Wouldn't it be nice for you to assist and help other people reach your level?
I mean, yes and no. So I had like my entire career planned out basically. So I was going to be teaching at the university part-time, then I was going to do the headmaster education, then I was going to go from public sector to private sector.
Yes.
However, what fulfilled me around teaching was seeing the student grow and develop, and seeing that commitment to growing, because they were at these special ed schools. It was very different. Our focus was around teaching them how to grow as a human being and how to be in this world.
Gotcha.
Whereas the ones where it's just teaching German, I mean, I get bored. Yes, I also taught a bunch of CEOs. I taught the Queen's head of security, and I taught a ambassador in German. I taught the elite sports people, and they were really fun to work with because they were so dedicated to what they did. However, German was not their focus, and that's where it got kind of meh. Which is what I love about working with entrepreneurs. They eat, sleep, breathe, whatever it is they do. And that's what we're working with. So I see that passion and I feel that passion, and that gets me excited. That's where I love it. And yes, I could teach them to become better German teachers and this and that, but they're not passionate about it. And therefore it doesn't actually fulfill me. And after having lived so many years and just lost them basically, I know to never waste another day again. I know that every single day I need to show up and do something that I'm truly passionate about and that nurtures me and fulfills me.
Respect.
So I could do that, but I would just waste my time and my energy, and then I'm not doing the best job serving them either.
Yeah. I hear you. I respect that totally.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions? No? Well, thank you very much, Simone, for joining me for afternoon tea today.
Thank you, Karen. It was so wonderful. And thank you all for coming. It was so nice to have some faces to look at while talking.